please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. If I have any items they would like to remove from the consent agenda. All right. Moving on to special activities. We have electric aggregation discussion with Rich from General Alliances. Rich, come on up. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for coming today. So I think as some of you may remember, the current aggregation program does expire this summer. So I wanted to kind of come out and talk about where things have been the last couple of years, and then kind of where we see things going for the potential for the renewal, where the market has been. And again, we'll kind of step through where things have been, and then touch a little bit on where we're going.
Okay.
So the current program does expire this August, and both those that are in the Duke and AES service territory are both at $4.95, at least the participating residents, small businesses are at $4.95. And through the end of last year, the average Duke count actually only stayed about 0.2%, and the average AES performance was about just shy of 5% worse than where AES was. And again, we'll kind of talk through why that happened. So starting with Duke, if you remember, I was here, I believe it was the spring of 19. This was a 3-year deal, and when we locked in at that time, we felt pretty good where things were. Right? We knew we were going to offer some savings. We knew those first months were going to be good. We were going to struggle a little bit during the winter. We knew that's always the challenge. We talked about that the last time, how Duke, the struggle is not as big during the winter, but particularly in AES, because of the all-electric homes, the performance during the winter months for the AES residents could be a lot lower. But again, with Duke, we knew that first winter was going to be a little bit, was going to take a little time to catch up. So the average resident in the Duke footprint lost about $5 a month for those first couple of months in the winter, but then things really ramped up for that first summer. But then again, things really tailed off. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about why that summer and then beyond, things did not play out as expected. And then for AES, in that first really 12 months, was pretty good, and then things really came off a lot. We'll kind of get into more of that. And really since then, the performance in the AES has not been good. So why is that? So again, that first winter, we knew it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. But what we knew at that time, we felt that things would come back around for the summer, right, for the fall and for the further years on. And then, based on what we knew, that's going to be the case. But then, what happened? COVID, right? So there's a lot going on here, so we'll kind of step into these. We have to think of the aggregation as sort of 12-month terms, right? The way that Duke and AES and the utilities set their prices are from June of one year to May of the next. So we'll kind of look at this in chunks. That blue line, that's the chunk of time from June of 19 to May of 20. The orange line, that's the chunk of time between June of 20 to May of 21. And then the gray line is June of 21 to June of 22. So that's roughly the 3 years of the current program, offset by about a month or two. So you can see here, right, this is when I was here, right, and this is when the aggregation price was set. Right? So it looks like we were coming off highs. And then looking at the future, right, we knew prices were lower right, at that time. So we were taking advantage of that, kind of blending all that in, and things look good. However, right after I left, the market really came off a lot in 19. Right? So that's where things kind of started to struggle. They hit their bottom at that point in the summer of 19. Things did start to recover. And then Duke, so the way that prices are set is that the utility set auctions at periods of time. Duke sets them twice a year, AES sets them once. So in the summer of 19, Duke set their first auction, so they procured a percentage of what would set the price. So they did that first percentage pretty low, right? So that was going to get averaged out. Again, got through the fall of 19, and then as we got to towards the winter of 19 and 20, around January, February, market, again, really came off a lot, because I think at that time, around December, was when the concerns in China, right, and overseas, were starting to talk about COVID, and then really started to hit here, right? And obviously, we all know what happened kind of in May of 20 in the United States, as far as things shutting down, commodities going, crude oil went to negative $4 a barrel. So Duke set their auction in February, right, so as the market really started to come off. AES set their auction the day the market closed down, right? So they happened to buy 100% of this current year when on the day the market hit the bottom. They got lucky, and then since then everything has kind of cleared up. Duke ran their, another auction in the fall of 20 as things started to recover. They ran their second auction back again this fall, so things started to creep up, and then AES again for this current year ran it last year. So again, even though we were more than a year out from the initial, we all know it was sort of a slow climb to get there. So we couldn't see this here, right? When we did those prices, that was the lowest prices that the aggregation had ever been. Things had looked great, so it was really tough, to know that these things were going to happen. And obviously, if we get back to those levels, we've got bigger problems on what's going on. So this again tries to lay out how we've seen the markets change over time, and then sort of the timing on where the utility sets their prices, and how that's had such a big impact on why performance over the last 2 years wasn't so good, because the auctions were run, pretty close to the bottoms of the market. Yeah, again, we kind of talked through the timing of all that. So, again, the first 12 months, performed as expected. But it was year 2 and 3 that really was a struggle, and things that we just could not have foreseen. However, I think a big thing is this summer, right? So, going back to these charts here, right, the average AES residence over the 3 years has paid about $8 more over 3 years on the program compared to AES default rates. And then Duke is about flat, right? We'll call it about even. But as we see with this chart, and it continued to go up, and even though this is for last year, the market's at the highest prices it's been since about 2008, right? And AES ran their auction for 100% within the last month. So those prices starting this summer are going to be unbelievable. The auctions cleared at about 10 cents a kWh for AES. We'll see how that translates to when they set the rates, because they have to file those rates with the Public Utilities Commission. They'll do that sometime probably next month, so we'll get it clear. But that's a big jump, because right now it's about, the previous auction cleared at about 4.4 cents, and now it actually was about 13 cents there. So we expect a significant increase in AES's prices, and Duke's going to go from about 5 through to about 6.5. So all this that the customer, yes, it took some time. Right, but all this, I think, that they did not, or had given up over they're going to make that up this summer. Because if you had ballpark numbers, I'm estimating that the average AES customer may save $40 a month, June, July, and August of this summer compared to AES's rates. And Duke's going to be somewhere around probably $15 a month over the next couple months. So again, it's not what we like, right? You don't like to start there, have it go down. But it's also, trying to sort of soften things out, right, and take advantage, when we can. And because that market has come up so much, we think we're going to be in the positive for both over the course of the program. So, not the ideal way to get there. Oops, one more slide. Again, so then, talking about that market, right? That far right side is what's going on right now. And the top blue line, that's the next 12 months. That red line is 2023, 2024, and so on, right? So AES set their prices right there. So, I did run an RFP for the next program to kind of see where they were. I was hoping to have those today. AES was really slow at getting us data, so I won't have those back until next week. But I suspect that I'll have a conversation with Mr. Clark here the next week or so, kind of about where things are, and then come back here and talk about what some options are. You know, prices, they're gonna be higher, right? It's just kind of the way that it is right now. And, you know, this may be a thing too, depending on where these prices come back. We may try to mix and match this thing, right? We have some communities in the Duke footprint, we actually sent back to Duke, because we said where the aggregation prices we're getting back from RFPs, they're not beneficial, right? There's not enough there that we felt, hey, lock in. We'll see what happens next week, because those communities, we looked at it a couple weeks ago, and the market was a lot higher, so we'll see. But it may be a thing where we say, maybe we don't do anything for the Duke customer, right? Because there's not enough there. But I think there's going to be something there for the AES customer. So we may, kind of decide, do we do stuff for one commodity, one utility and not the other? Because as I said, the AES customer is going to pay a lot. And they're going to go from, again, sub 5 to likely somewhere north of 10 cents, which is a lot. So, those are things that we can talk through in the next couple of weeks. But again, I want to kind of touch on that at least now, on what I think we may end up presenting in the next couple of weeks.
So what do you, tell me in straight language, what do you expect to happen for my bill? Because I'm a Duke customer.
Yeah. So, on the aggregation, so that, right now, again, that price is sub 5. The prices we're seeing right now, from some of the other communities starting the summer, it's been closer to 7 cents, or 7.5 cents. So let's call that about a $20 increase. And I think, again, whether it's the utility or the aggregation, those prices, they're going to be higher, right? So can we find a way to utilize the aggregation to maybe blend in some of those future longer-term prices to try to soften that out a little bit? But if we can't get it anywhere close, with the aggregation, then it may not be worth doing.
So what do you, and then, so do you automatically turn those customers back over to Duke?
Yeah, so what would happen is the program would just stop, right? We would not renew with any supplier. Down is the supplier of the aggregation. They would drop those customers in August when the program ends. Everybody would just go back to the utility and then pay the utility rates at that point.
Okay. And then if things turn around, who knows, would you come back and try to present another aggregation program to, then you can't automatically do that, you probably have to start all over, I assume.
You technically don't have to start all over, because we'll continue to work to make sure your certificate and everything is updated. So there is a difference between the program not existing and being an aggregator. You'll continue to be an aggregator as a community. You just may not have an active program.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's what we'll look at too. Like we're doing that right now. We have 25 gas communities here in Southwest Ohio. We're sending them all back for the summer because, again, the prices don't make sense. But we're looking at what does it look like for a November start. Gas, again, is a little bit different, but we're trying to figure out what's the best way to attack these things and not just force in high prices now if we don't need to.
Okay.
So where did Duke's auction end up?
So right now we're ballparking that the price will be about 6.5 cents. After that, it's said and done. Again, we won't know until the end of the month. This is some, a little bit of not fancy math that we do to estimate those based on the auctions, but yeah, they've all jumped very high.
When will those hit customers?
It'll start on their June bill. So that's where I think for those on the aggregation, for both utilities, they get a little bit of reprieve at least for the summer. That those first 3 months will still be on the aggregation rate, and if we decide it's right to renew, they won't really see any of that kind of big jump at all until the start of fall.
Right.
So at least we get through
With the new contract.
correct, but at least we get through the summer at this.
Would it be to consumers' advantage to go ahead and drop the aggregation right now as an individual?
It wouldn't, because if they drop now, they're going to miss those summer rates. Right, so obviously they can, right? That's why there's no termination fees. They can come and go as they want. They can, but I think if you're in it at this point, you hold on to the end, right? Because you want to get those summer rates because there's nothing close to that in the market right now. So you might as well hold on and get those prices. And the same thing for those who may not be on it. Now's the time to maybe sneak in for those last couple months,
At least for a couple.
right? As we're estimating $40 a month for difference between the aggregation rate and the AES rate this summer. It's a lot for households.
So we did 3 years the first time. Is there any particular reason why we couldn't do a different term?
We may. So everybody we're looking at now, we're probably looking at about 2 years instead of the 3. I mean, we could go longer. My concern is, again, short-term prices are here, right there.
I'm thinking the other way.
Well, 1 year, at that, like, my concern is the price is so high, right, that it's not.
No,
it's not-
I get
it's
the
not
price,
commensurate.
I get the price concern. I'm looking at what we just went through and the advantage that we could have had if we had a different term then,
Yeah.
to be able to redo it.
And that's why we're looking now kind of 2 years, because year 1 is here, year 2 is there, right? Kind of soften out year
Right.
1 as much as we can.
Right.
But then, for some reason, it continues to go lower, we're only locked in at, you have 1 year, maybe kind of uncertainty prices, and not the third year. I mean, that was the trouble. When we did the price of $4.95 3 years ago, it looked great.
Yeah.
But obviously, when it goes bad, you gotta hold on for 3 years, and then, that's tough,
Yeah.
to do.
It is what it is.
It's not, it's not pretty, but again, I sent this to Mr. Clark a little bit ago, and he said, you need to come explain this. That's why I'm here, right? Is that it's our job, obviously, as your consultant, to do the best we can, but at the same point, when things don't go as planned, I gotta stand here in front of you and say, hey, it didn't go as planned, right? And this is why we see that, and,
Yep.
we'll go from there.
If I have any more questions for Rich?
I'll stay in communication with Rich and see what the auctions are coming back at and see what makes sense. And obviously invite him back here shortly to figure something out collectively that everybody can digest.
You're certainly not the only one that's lived in our podcast.
It's ugly all around right now.
You're probably the least, actually. Not as bad as food and petroleum products.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, like the math we're doing, I don't see, I don't see how some of these utilities, how some of the leadership in these utilities are not going to be standing in front of regulators of the state, legislators sometime this summer because of these jumps and how, kind of how they happen.
Yeah.
Somebody could, right, wrong, or different, right? They're going to look for somebody to answer on how this happened. And AES has gotten very lucky that they ran that auction once a year, that they had to hit those bottoms. But again, that once a year, it punched them in the face,
Right.
For this next one. And I don't see how somebody doesn't have to at least speak to somebody about how that happened.
Well, it'll be interesting, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
the information.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Rich, next
Yeah,
time.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have public comments. Public comments. Pete, you have a comment?
Sure do.
Come on up.
Hey, Chief, will you turn the TV off? It's the lower button on the back side.
Oh, that's right.
That's all right, you can leave it.
Just leave that. What can we do for you today?
I don't think you have, it was not certainly wasn't.
I have no thoughts about it at all, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I know you don't.
It's
It
over.
didn't bother you.
It's over.
Other than the region here and the county. But how would you feel if somebody asked you to run something through your pocket? When it's all there.
But that was our best offer.
No, well, whatever you say. I'm just here to tell you, you're asking me to do something, and I was,
Oh, I said you didn't want to do, that's okay.
what do you mean? Well, you got engineering, somebody knows how to put it where it's at. You had a 50-foot easement.
Pete, we offered you what we thought was the best thing we could do. We're not supposed to be spending money on your property to start with. So this was as nicest thing as we could do and get in and get out without spending a lot of money. It was our best offer.
It's going to cost, no, I don't doubt that. But you're building this facility,
Doesn't have anything to do with your problem, Pete.
it don't. It has everything to do with my property. Did you wade through the mud and the muck to get out where you're at? It's already flooding my property.
It is, it's been flooding for years.
It has not. I lived there in 1992.
When did you start coming in here complaining? 5 years ago?
Well, every public year just like it really is.
No, Pete, you don't need to
No,
put
you
it
don't
in at all.
want to, 'cause you
No, I'm
live-
tired of listening to the same thing again, Pete.
No, this is
There's
not-
nothing we're going to do for you. We're done.
You're done.
We are absolutely done. We tried our best to work with you. You don't want to do anything to compromise.
You're asking me to give my property up.
Then you were not willing to do that.
No, it's already there.
Well,
And I
that's
have
what
no
it-
say to say about that.
No, the easement.
When you got an easement there, a 30-foot easement, that's not cut.
We can't afford to go in there and do that.
Well, son, that's up to you. What are you gonna do with the water up through here?
We're gonna run it
You
away.
always tell me, you live downhill. I do, I live downhill. I wasn't stupid enough not to realize that. But you bring me down this way, then you bring it to 73, then you shoot it down toward town.
Yeah.
You go down there and there's a tile about so big,
Yeah.
it takes it down the front behind these first two houses here. And then you go on down on the next house, and that one that you're going to build on, he found out, I guess, you can't build on. Then, they just cut that over to bring it down my way. Anything you cut here comes down, you're cutting everything into the gutter. What size tile have you got out here, bud? All you have to do is go down there and look at it. I've looked at it. And I've looked at the one this side of it. You run it right here off in your parking lot. You ran it over into the ditch line there on 70. It looks to me like I'd call it a dead man. Fifty miles speed zone down through here. Man comes up there, I don't think he's even got a light sign up there telling there's a light down here. But I know most of us travel enough to know that. Used to be a four-way stop, or two-way stop. But now, you made it, you put the light in, after you did that, you cut this and turn whatever water you cut over here, down there, and right on down on. Well, now the guy, he's filled the pond in. That pond, I was told you guys wanted him to build it 15 foot deep. Well, so like I say, I don't know. I'm just saying what I heard. And when you fill that in, and you got one up here on the hill, just under 70 feet, big, or maybe bigger, that was a helping of some of the water. Well, now, you're turning it all. The overflow from the one up on the top, it comes in, and it's 50 foot. I can see them thinking, but don't you have a zoning? Who's owned that for building? When it was, you had all the room in the world to send it right down and line it up and take it in to Mason Lane or into the pond. But instead of doing that, the house right across on the other corner, you got it coming back to me. That all comes right back to the cover. The cover is no different really than what the pipe under the one just below. The guy was going to be with me here, and you guys wasn't in. You said you switched the meeting the night before. But anyway, he was with me. And that backs up. I can only take so much water. I never had that water like you've seen down there. And you've seen how it was when I run the mower today. And then these guys came down when it stopped up the underground, and they did what they could do. But he was the one that cut the ditch. Did you find any pipe in the ditch that you opened up? There was no pipe in there.
It's in there, just might not be in that spot. It comes out now.
You never see it when you're digging it in.
I know, I did not see it then, but I seen it at your driveway.
Yeah, right. But it's my driveway, that's a different, that used to be a little, what, 40, if that. So anyway, well, you've been here long enough, you know who
It's a
and
mess.
how they got that down there.
It's a mess, Pete, I know.
Well, and you all, or I can say you all, but I don't know how many of you is on the board. But I know you was.
I certainly was.
Yes, you was. 28 years, it's a pretty good time on the job. So, there's not much happened that you don't know about. Whether you come against it or whether you accepted it.
Right.
But I thought that's what the taxpayers paid people to get done.
Okay.
So, anyway, you know where I'm at.
I know where you are.
And
You know where we are.
I certainly do, but I'm not, how would you like if somebody from out on your farm that you got from your dad and cut a spike back through it?
I've already had to do
And
that.
even asked you to pay part of the price.
Well, I had to cut it and pay for it myself.
Huh?
I had to cut it and pay for it myself.
You're out there in the farm, this is a plat. This was laid out for.
Doesn't matter, Pete, I still get all the water from Pioneer Boulevard, and and I had to cut ditches and pay for it myself.
Just did you too.
Anyway, doesn't make any difference what I do out there, Pete.
Well, it don't make no difference.
We've done the best we can
You're
do.
proving to me that it don't make no difference what you do, what happens here. Like I said, you fellas are trying to wash me completely off of the corner. I told her, and the engineer, Teddy, he told me to begin with. Me and him been working together for quite a while.
He was out there the other day.
That's right, and he can't do nothing. His boss was with him. You're like you're these guys' boss.
He was there.
Is that right?
Huh? That's what it appears to be. I'll put it like that, from the meetings I've been in.
Okay.
And I know one thing.
He's the chairman of the board, sir.
I'll tell you what, if he called it, it seemed to get smashed. I'll tell you that. Oh,
Appreciate that.
who do you usually call? The leader?
Well, anyway, Pete, okay, we've talked enough about it, and we've got a lot of other things on our agenda. So
Well,
you're not gonna stand up here and keep rambling
Well, I
on.
will
Go
say
sit
this.
down or leave.
I want a copy of this meeting.
You can get a copy of the
Yeah,
meeting, Pete.
just like the last time, I'll give you a copy.
I appreciate it.
You got it, you got it.
So, this thing going like this is ridiculous.
We did the best we could do.
No, you can't. I'll tell
Well, in
you
our,
right now.
in our opinion, we did.
And it's your opinion is what benefits you, not me. You can care less about this old one. I'm the property owner down there. The township owns this. And well, what you did up here, I can't help it.
No, that's right.
I don't have no control up here, but you should have had things already provided for down there to handle what you're doing up here, but you didn't have it.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks, Pete.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is fiscal business. Russ, you have the fiscal officer's report.
Yes, sir, I have nothing for the fiscal officer's report other than to clarify that we will be reaching into your pocket a little bit further. You stated that earlier today, and for sure it's going to happen right now. We need a supplemental appropriation to pay for the paving that the county is getting ready to do. Ryan, what was the big reason? Was it the asphalt?
Yeah, the asphalt was up quite a bit from $77 a ton to 85.
Petroleum.
Yes.
Petroleum products.
So this was the first time in all of our years, well, in a while, that I'm aware of that the actual estimate came back
Higher.
Yeah.
than the engineer's estimate. But
First time I know it.
regardless, we got to do it. One of the things that we did do last year was we approved a permissive money that we could get, and that's the money that we're actually using to help pay for this. So it's a good thing that we had it. So asking for a motion to go ahead and approve this supplemental appropriation.
And that's Resolution 5366, and a motion to approve supplemental appropriations and dispense with the second reading, declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Thank you, sir.
That's all you have, Russell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then moving on to new business police, we have a recommendation to purchase the furniture for the new headquarters on the state bid through Osterman Cross.
We reached out to 3 different places, all in state bid. 2 of them didn't respond back as the process went. Alston McCrone was very helpful through the whole thing. They gave a bid of $128,389. I'd asked the board to approve that. It is that state bid, and it's budgeted for this year as part of the new building process.
About 20,000 below what we had budgeted to.
Do you think you get a chance to go to that stuff? I'll check with them. Yeah. I guess it's probably state bid, probably. Because it's just a lot. Yeah. That's, Steve's an old furniture salesman. I'm not sure. Looked like they were pretty good prices to me. I haven't bought any, just a piece here or there over the years. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions, or is there a motion to approve the purchase of the furniture package for the police headquarters?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have a recommendation to accept the following donation, $100 from Joyce and Dallas Powers. Is for benefit the police department. Is there a recommendation to accept that donation?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
And also we have $250 from Lisa Dennison on behalf of James Westerdorf, Have a Heart Foundation to benefit Safety Town in 2022. Is there a motion to accept that recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yes. And we have a recommendation to purchase 2 mobile computers for the new cruisers at a cost of $7,353.
Yeah, it's actually $0.80.
Then 80 cents.
73.52. We rounded up on
I
that.
rounded up.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Matt owes us 20 cents.
It's for law
More than
enforcement.
that, I rounded up on the whole agenda, so it might actually be like $2.
Okay.
From Law Enforcement Technology LLC. They're a new vendor for CDW, usually does that, but they came in a little bit lower bid, so we're taking them at the board so approves.
Okay, anybody have any questions about this recommended purchase? Is there a motion to purchase the 2 mobile computers?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Anything else from the police department, chief? Moving on to the fire district, I have a recommendation to authorize Atlantic Energy Solutions to replace ladder 21's radiator, fan, and stove board. At a cost of $13,572.
Yeah, the truck was going down the street the other day, the motor fan just exploded, caused quite a bit of damage. The good news was it was right at the bridge at 741 heading north, so they were able to coast into the station. So we didn't have to pay to have it towed to the station, but we had to pay to tow to Atlantic Emergency Solutions, which is a new place off of Advanced Drive. They're on East Coast and they kind of moved this way, so we just started using them. So it's nice to have an emergency repair shop in our town now. We had some problems. We actually were using a place out of northern Kentucky for a while. It was further than some options, but they were the best that we could get. So we did do 2 quotes. We did have them, the place we've been using, and they actually quoted a couple $100 more. So we wanted to try to, this is our first really big repair, so we wanted to kind of see if we could, make sure that they were quoting us at a reasonable price. So it was good to see that they were just in the same ballpark and actually a little cheaper than the other place we were using.
I'm sure whoever was driving was thinking, uh-oh.
They sure were. That's not the word they said.
Ride with it.
I can't even imagine.
And they did notice a couple other things while they're in there doing that work that were going to need to be repaired anyway, so it's going to take care of all this.
Yeah, lucky, when I saw that and looked looked at the numbers, I thought, man, I think we probably got away pretty good with that. Actually. So motion to approve this repair.
So moved.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wicker?
Okay. And we have a recommendation to authorize the annual preventive maintenance agreement with Stryker Corporation and Services All the Life Act 15 Cardiac Packs, the AED, and so on, at a cost of $31,186.
So this is our last year on a 3-year service maintenance agreement. Captain Bueller is currently researching our options going forward with this. I mean, these are, high-tech machines. They have to work when you use them, so it's expensive to redo them, and we're going to have to actually purchase new. The Life Pack 15s are end of life, so we're going to have to, But we planned for the capital budget, so it's not a surprise. So we're prepared. We're just looking at what our best options are. Do we want to continue to buy them and then pay an expensive maintenance agreement and then purchase them again in 8 to 10 years, or do we want to look at maybe doing a long time lease, and then a lot of the service prices and maintenance is included in that, so we're just kind of looking at that. So I'll be bringing that to the board probably towards the end of the year.
Purchase lease is always a tough thing, and I never, leases typically, they look good, but sometimes in a long time they aren't so good.
Yeah, we're looking at all options to see what will be the best thing that we can do.
Often cash flow, that's the big deal, that we have cash flow. Well, you guys check it out, and you do a good job in your research, so we all know that. Okay, is there a motion to approve this annual maintenance agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wicker?
Yeah. Moving on to administration, we have a recommendation to solicit bids for the purchase of a new pickup truck for the use of the parks.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you heard that the state bid is just sideways right now with our vehicles. It's no surprise, just considering the other market for trucks and vehicles.
Yes.
Bidding on stuff can't even get it.
There's basically nothing available decent on state bid, because why would they? They can sell it at retail, so, we can't find anything really nearly comparable for what some of these needs are, on state bid, regardless of make or model, so we obviously expect it to exceed $50,000, and as such, we need to publicly bid it, and advertise and all that sort of thing. It's a nice truck, and it should fulfill some of these needs.
It's an Indy truck.
Yeah, so all mowers and mow cemeteries and all put around too.
So this says a recommendation to solicit bids. Will you really pass that, or are you going to try to find a truck other than?
We
You actually have one identified?
We have to, because it's over 50, we've already got a truck, a coffin barger
But
actually.
you have to do it
one.
because it's over 50, even though you have one? Okay.
Nobody else will do it.
Sure you do. Okay, is there a recommendation or motion to authorize administration to put out bids for the truck for the park?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wicker?
Yeah. I think you're actually lucky to find one that you can get
At all.
used on.
No. Yeah. Yeah, the only reason we got it is because Coffin Barber ordered it respectively, and, I think Tony was able to talk him into it.
Okay. Now moving on to discussion about annexation request for 7878 and 7914 Church Road.
This is a little bit different, because it is not an annexation of Clear Creek Township property, but rather an annexation of Franklin Township property. The city manager, knowing the terminus agreement was in place, from the colony, because of his desire to do a type 2 annexation, and expedite the annexation of that land. But to do so, there's no changing the underlying township, it stays in Franklin Township. While the terminus agreement requires that the city initiate a new township procedure within 60 days of annexing it, because our boundaries need to be coterminous with those of the city. So they need to change it from Franklin Township to Clear Creek. So at first blush, you might not think anything's wrong with that, but you got 42 acres that are developed, and any inside millage that would be generated from that would not come to us. It would go to Franklin by virtue of type 2 annexation. So basically, the coterminous agreement requires the city to do a type 1 regular annexation with hearings and all that, instead of going to type 2 for the duration that it's under agreement with us. So that's why I wrote my memo as such and said I do not recommend it. It is not precedent that I want to set. You're basically foregoing any inside knowledge that would have been recommended or would have been earned on it. And I didn't want to overstep my bounds and just flatly tell the city manager no, but bring it to you to say this is the request. We don't recommend it. And that you give me direction to apply as such to the city.
So I'm thinking regardless of the steps they have to go through, is that we say no, and they have to go through the regular process regardless.
Sorry. Trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Actually, somebody from the third telling me your council compromise.
Yeah.
They called me at 1:30 this morning.
Thank Pete, that's the people going to talk to.
Would that, become then our responsibility, or?
That's the kicker, it's ours. If they annex it, we have to service it, and we're not getting millage to do it.
Correct.
It's butts up against the park. Is this something that they're wanting to buy for the park?
I think they might take some bottom acreage and try to combine it.
Because there's a lot of woods there.
Yeah,
There's not a lot to develop.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't wanna lose the millage. What do you think, Ed?
Well,
I mean, you're the boss.
I doubt.
You knew I was gonna do it from the first opportunity I had, so.
Well, first of all, the village is, the money's not gonna amount to much. It's gonna be vacant ground or park ground.
Well, that's the question. I don't know that all of it is, because if you access it from Sharps, unless I'm seeing things.
No, they said they have somebody that wants to develop, at least some.
Is it some of them be developed?
Yeah, there's flat, that you could do this part.
Okay,
They're probably carving off the south 20 acres to add a Clear Creek.
Yeah,
okay.
And then develop.
because they've heard so much about our walking trails. I'm serious.
Well,
Pizzuto's kids use our park more than most. They love our hiking trails. I mean, that's my thought.
yeah.
And you're right, it's not a lot, but I'm kind of in line with what Matt's saying. I think it's a precedent that says, do we want to, open that door? And I don't know how much land is really eligible to do that, but it can't be very much. I mean, you've got placers down here, but,
You're in year one of the 20-year coterminous agreement, you set the precedent, if you allow them to do it this time, I don't know what's to stop them from coming back next.
This is we're in year one. New coterminous agreement. Well, that wouldn't be a very good precedent to set.
yeah, you could get to, yeah.
And there's no absolutely no way we would be able to, in the future, get the millage.
Not unless the underlying township changes.
Well, that can happen.
No, because I've been trying to get that southern piece of Drake Road annexed to Turtle Creek for years, and it's not gonna work, so.
Cease to exist, I guess that would be.
Right.
Well, I guess our direction would be that we don't want them to do it the way they want to do it.
And he suspected as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with them annexing it at all, which is one of the two questions.
I don't think it's gotta be type
But they just do type one, so, yeah,
No,
it's
that's-
officially ours. I don't like giving money away. We do enough of that already.
Yeah, you're right. No, the annex one's not a real problem.
You there too, Steve? Thanks for the direction.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion? Okay.
Your direction's clear, yes, I agree. You can if you want, but.
No, the pure motion for us.
Conversations down.
I'm sorry?
That's it. We've had the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
and it's recorded.
The record, yes.
Part of the record. Okay. That's all you have, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we're moving on to the Road and Park Resolution 5367, a resolution authorizing the township administrator to execute a contract with Warren County Engineers for the 2022 resurfacing striping program, dispensing with second reading, declaring an emergency. Is what it is.
It is what it is, goes with the year.
No, it's a shame, but that's, I mean, here, it's like everything else. Energy and food.
That's the first time I've ever seen it come in higher than what.
I can't remember the last time. I'm thinking it's put back in '08, maybe. We're back, maybe back in the early '80s, we might have had some. I tend to remember that because we had to cut what we were planning on doing because of that estimate came in. But I don't remember when that was. But I know we had to change what we were gonna do and take a couple streets off, which is what you do. I mean,
Right.
money. But in this case, we need to spend the money to get caught up. I know your own mission.
Yes,
Well,
I have.
in reference to this, I have a question. When they do the work, and specifically I'm talking about Red Line 5 at 73, if there is what appears to be an issue that may be sent from the work,
Right.
what's the recourse? Can we just call them and tell them they need to come back out and look at it? Or, I mean, when you go, if you're going north, or excuse me, south on Red Line 5,
Where it's slipping.
where it's slipping pretty badly.
Yeah, that's slipping from the truck, big truck.
Right, no, I get it.
Yeah, that's what it is, what it is right there, yeah. I mean, it's all places, it's starting to do it here, down here on Bunnell Hill, 741 Beacon,
Just holes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll mill that a little deeper into the second layer of asphalt, so it won't slip for a while, but it'll eventually slip again.
No, it was.
I just didn't think it would do it that quickly.
We could have gone down there and maybe milled that out, but that intersection's getting pretty busy for us to do down there.
Yeah,
I prefer to have somebody else do that.
it's already got, yeah, no, it's,
It is for sure.
okay.
All right, so is there a motion to approve 5367?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And for road and parks, we have resolution 5368, a resolution accepting public streets for maintenance in the village of Winding Creek, the boulevards at Winding Creek, section 6 and 7, dispensing with the second reading.
Yeah, I've been through there twice with Jason, we finally got everything fixed. This is just regular accepting these new sections.
And how much we added?
Not offhand, I don't know, a lot. That place is enormous.
Just keeps going.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve 5368?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Anything else? Planning and zoning.
Palmer, don't judge me on the personal matter, but he has nothing for the agenda.
Okay.
Pete needs to talk to them. Water's a zoning issue there.
Okay, and moving on to consent agenda. Anybody have any, is there a motion to approve this consent agenda? I guess is all we need.
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Staff updates. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mrs.